Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the Ant Podcast with your hosts, Lil Billy and Antimatters. That's me.
Welcome everyone. Today we are doing the ultimate care guide for Lasius Niger. So if you are looking to keep this species or already have this species and want to know more about it, today we are going to explain the keeping, the handling, everything from pests to humidity and everything like that you need to know about Lasius Niger. There are 50 questions that ChatGPT made for us, and we're just going to go down it one by one and see how it goes. So the first question is, where is the species naturally found?
Every fucking where. Basically everywhere, I think. Like, if you go anywhere.
Literally anywhere.
Yeah, from fields to woods to cities, they're absolutely everywhere.
And they are also found, obviously, throughout the UK, and I believe they're in most parts of Europe.
Yeah, I think so. And then there's their sister species as well in America, which is Lasius Niger, which, as far as I can tell by looks, it's essentially exactly the same ant as well. Maybe it blew over a long time ago and has slightly changed, but at some point I think it was a Lasius Niger.
100%. Is the species suitable for beginners or expert keepers?
Well, these are like the generic beginner girls, aren't they? So there is that. But they do make a good like colony if you're experienced as well.
Oh yeah. So I personally recommend them for your first ever ant species. So if you're going to keep an ant and you're from the UK or anywhere, basically, you want a Lasius just so you understand how ants work and think. And then you go for the messers or the Polyrachus and stuff like that.
Pelodus.
Oh yeah. Why would someone choose this species over others?
There's a beginner species. It's that's I guess that's why most people end up with them, isn't it? And nuptials, to be honest. That's a good reason to keep them if you're like, I don't want to spend any money because I don't know what I'm doing yet. If you catch them in nuptials, you get free ants. So that's one reason. If you live in England, they're easy to catch. So maybe that's a reason, but there isn't many. They're good ants. Like they they're good at eating food. They put on a good show most of the time and everything, but they're kind of like tofu a bit. I don't know. I don't want to speak down on them. To be fair, that sounds really bad. Tofu.
No, yeah, the reason someone would choose these over the other ones is like if you're a beginner, would you choose something easy like Lasius or something hard or harder like Polyrachus? Or you're not out of diverse and these, I'd go for these. So yeah. How large can the colony become? In the wild, I think they reach up to like 8K, 8,000 workers.
Oh yeah, I bet at least, isn't it? I know a lot of people like Sid over at Wakushi. He always says he's got a colony of Lasius Niger, and one side of the house they've got like a load of hills, and then they go all the way under the whole house and out the back of the house, and they got some more hills at the back, I think, and all the pathways as well. Like it's all like big colonies, but yeah, when they're mature, they can get proper huge. Considering they've only got one queen as well, I guess. So it's a bit of a, I don't know if it's a handicap, but it's got to hold back the numbers when they're huge, I guess.
I guess talking about the queen as well, like although right there is only one queen per colony, like it is impossible to have two queens together, even if you catch them during a nuptial flight and let them fawn together. When the workers come around, they will choose one queen and kill and eat the other.
Yeah, I hate it when they do that. I remember, was it 2 years ago, I had a 4 queen colony, and I thought like, I've done it. It got to about May, and there were still 4 queens, and I was like, yes, I've done it. And no, a hot day rolled around, and all of the workers, I guess it was hot. They all got annoyed and stressy, and they just destroyed or they actually destroyed all 4 queens in the end. Luckily,
Damn.
I had another queen and I stuck her in, and she's like actually managed to stay alive, and the colony survived. But it was ridiculous. They were just being stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Um,
it's like, yeah, to kill all 4 queens. Like, they didn't even leave one alive. They just beat them up. And maybe because there was like they'd been doing quite well up to that, so they had a lot of workers. Maybe that factored into the fact that there was enough workers to beat every single queen silly. Like,
but there's always that, if you want to give it a go, don't be shy. Expect the unexpected, I suppose.
yeah, oh, it's worth a try. If you
Yeah,
figured it out, it'd be well cool to have a multi
Queen
Queen
Lasius.
Lasius Niger colony.
How long do queens typically live for? In perfect
Well done.
conditions, like 30 years plus.
Yeah, something like that, innit? I know there was one in captivity and it was recorded at 28 years old.
Oh
And
yeah,
I doubt it was even being like I don't know. I don't imagine it
28
was
years
getting
old.
super regular everything. Like
Yeah. So yeah, 28 years. So if you keep them to the best, they'll probably do really well. I have queens that are almost 3 years old. So yeah,
yeah, I'd say I'd expect like 10 years personally.
yeah, yeah.
Like I don't know. I just even though I've had ants for so long, I still can't imagine an ant living like 20 years and stuff. If you get what I mean? But
I know.
it would be awesome.
Are there any unique castes in the species?
Dude.
No, there's
No.
it's just worker or queen. Or I guess elite, but yeah, no, there is just
Yeah.
maybe nanitics are like a bit smaller, but no, other
Yeah, they
than
are
that,
cute little things, but
yeah, that's
I
about
don't think they really count, do they? Yeah. They're just malnourished workers.
it. Yeah. Um, is the species claustral, semi-claustral, or dependent on any assistance during founding?
Definitely fully claustral, I
Yeah,
found.
fully. Yeah,
'Cause,
they don't need
mm,
anything.
so
Um,
every year I do accidentally tube up a few Lasius Niger, but I don't really have any intention of keeping them. And like 4 or 5 months later, I always give loads of water in the tubes because I just forget about them. And the amount of times I've just left tubes in a drawer, and yeah, 4 months later, I've come back and been like, "What's this?" Pulled the little cover off it, and there's been a little colony of Lasius Niger running around in there, and then they've just fully founded and got to 5 to 10 workers just on what the queen has got in her, and done
yeah,
really well. Some of them.
yeah. So basically, just catch them, put them in a tube, leave them in a box or in your like sock drawer for like 5 months, or like I say 3 to 4 months, with no vibrations, and boom, you got yourself a nice little colony.
Should have a good colony. Yeah.
Um, temperature. What temperature and humidity does this founding queen require? Um,
Mhm. It's a tricky one, isn't it? That one.
so I found room temperature, to be honest. To found the queen, I just keep her, like I said, I have a drawer which is just all my bug stuff, and I put them in a small box in that drawer, leave them there, and it's like I said, room temperature and humidity, whatever's in the tube. Fill it halfway with water, cotton wool, and yeah,
Great, doesn't it? Yeah.
literally, yeah. I guess it doesn't really matter. And even when you founded a colony, humidity maybe like in moderate humidity, so it doesn't actually. There's no specific needs.
I think, like most ants, though, aren't isn't it? They kind of, if you can get a nest, like the Gen 2 from Wakushi modular ones, but where there's like a humid patch and then like a dry patch as well. And it's like they'll decide then as well. Like in the test tube, if she wants it more humid, she'll move a little bit closer to the cotton wool that's kind of blocking the water. And if she wants it a bit less humid, she'll move away towards the far end of the tube.
Yeah, so that is literally as best as it gets. The ants decide in this case. Like, give them the options and let them choose. Don't force any options onto them.
That's definitely a mistake a lot of people make as well, I think, is like forcing options on them. Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
Especially with nests and things, but I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll get to that in another question.
Yeah, probably. The best setup for the founding queen, obviously, I've found test tube. I can imagine Jake's exactly the same.
Yeah, test tubes can't beat them with these
No,
girls.
especially like give them maybe like an inch of space, if that. Don't give them too much room. But
What are common mistakes that people make during the founding stage? Or a lot of people, the Lasius Niger, for some reason, they make mold and they can just grow this black gunky mold out of absolutely nothing at all. And so many people, it's probably like over 100 I've probably seen now on the Reddit page of like, oh my god, my queen has got moldy fungus, and it'll just be the Lasius Niger's like black gunk, and that stuff is nothing to worry about. I've left it in tubes forever, and absolutely zero negative like health effects. I think it's actually probably beneficial for them because they've cultured that bacteria for a reason, and just because we don't know it doesn't mean that they don't.
yeah, so if you can always, like as Jake was saying, like leave them alone in that test tube. You can always find these nests online where you can probably put the two tubes together and let them move out of it into another one. But if they don't move, again, don't force them to move. Leave them with whatever they have and let them move. But don't offer another test tube unless you are really worried about it. But before you give them another test tube, wait until they're at least coming out the test tube ish. That's what I have to say. But yeah, try
Yeah.
leave them if they've got black mold or any kind of mold. Leave them alone. They know, they're quite smart. Lasius. Always, if you think they need another test tube, go ahead and try another one, but don't force it.
Yeah, especially that, like, unless the tube is bone dry and it's been
Oh
bone
yeah,
dry for like weeks, it's not really worth forcing them to move.
no, that's their little house. What type of nest or formicarium is best suited for this species? Guess whichever, really. They're good no matter what.
Yeah, as long as it can hold them in, it's pretty much good for them.
Yeah,
Although I don't know, acrylic is not really good for any. Well, it is Mesobarbarus and stuff, but I'd say you might struggle with acrylic because they just trash it. But yeah, anything but that should be alright. If you've got gypsum, expect a little bit of black gunk like around the place, but don't worry about it. Same as the test tube, it's just what Lasius Niger do. It's their
yeah,
germ culture or something.
yeah. I'm the same. Mine are doing all right in what they're in. But eventually I might fill up like a small nest with some soil and some like cocoa fiber and let them do what they want to do with it.
Have a good dig through it all.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're such hardy ants. They'll
yeah,
do well in anything, isn't it?
you could put these ants in anything and they'll do all right.
Like even cement, just like here's a piece of cement. Like,
So we've done humidity, temperature, that like what ideal temperatures for a healthy colony? Just above
ooh,
maybe like
yeah, 25-ish is. I don't
20.
know.
I think
My
25
Lasius Niger
maximum.
always appreciated it,
Yeah, like
and they definitely grow faster.
yeah, stuff incubates a lot quicker. 25 to 26 for ideal healthy colony, but again, mine are doing well in room temperature. So
Yeah, although I would add that I'm not sure how much it will affect the Queen's life, because I suspect that being a little bit warmer might kind of burn her out a bit. In the wild, I know she'd be maybe 30 centimeters underground, if you get what I mean, where it's cold, and they'd move the brood up to like under a rock or something that's warm at the top. So yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem to affect the Queen in the short term, but over a long term, it may kind of wear her out a little bit. But you probably still talking 15 years or something. Like,
yeah, definitely these girls or that girl can live a while. Yeah, definitely. Like Jake said, in the wild, these queens are a good 30 centimeters down where it's cold for them. Like the thing is with most ants, it's like the queens aren't always where the eggs are. But obviously, when you give them a formicarium or like a test tube or something, or not a test tube, but like an actual setup, the queen has nowhere else to go. So you gotta keep in mind.
Set up a gradient, like I guess if you put a gradient, like a thermal gradient, into the nest, they'll be quite happy. But I do notice even then though, the queen will stay on the cooler side a lot of the time, and all of the pupae and eggs though, they pile out into the warm bit to get them to
Yeah,
grow as
definitely.
fast as they can.
But yeah, 25, 26, and yeah.
How much space does the colony need as it grows?
Oof. Just as much as any other, if anything. If I mean, no, maybe not actually, because with a one queen colony as like a Lasius Niger, you want to expect expansion within the first. No, not crazy expansion, but I'll say like within the first 5 years, they're fine on like a windowsill or something, like a foot windowsill, not like in a small nest. I'm gonna say with an outworld, they're fine for a good 5 years.
Yeah, that's about right. Like yeah, barely any space at all, kind of thing. And they are quite small ants too, I guess. So you keep them in a small setup for years. I'd only expand it myself if I really had to too, because they are a little bit, they're not grubby. Yeah, it's like Mesobarbarus, but if you give them a little bit too much space, they will kind of muck it a little bit.
So I guess this question is if they are in like a vivarium or something, like what kind of setup do they need? Because I mean, even in an acrylic setup or like a normal vivarium, it says deep substrate or a boreal setup. So I guess in like a vivarium, give them, like if you're keeping them in like a natural setup, like a vivarium or something, maybe like 15 centimeters of dirt. But I reckon that's like
Yeah, I'd say
that's
at
like
least, yeah, in a bigger tank as you can, I guess too, because eventually they will fill the natural setup.
yeah. So just but there's not really any special enclosure requirements. Just make sure they can't get out. These guys are also really good at
So,
escaping. Yeah, and make sure you got flu on and all that kind of stuff, so these girls can't get out. A lid would be the best enclosure requirement.
yeah, it does always help, and they are persistent at barriers. So, like, if they want to get across a barrier, they'll work at crossing that barrier for as long as it takes. Sometimes, like with little bits of dirt, they'll slowly like add it on and things. But if you got a lid, they're way safer then, and you don't really want them ever getting out either. If you've got other ants, because they're savages.
We'll get into that. What should this species be fed?
Pretty much, they'll eat any protein basically. And sugar wise, pretty much the same. I've found they're definitely not fussy. You get some ants that are like, I don't want to like drink this flavored sugar water, whereas the Lasius Niger are like, I don't care, it's sugar, like give it here.
Yeah, Lasias are always sugar hungry. Like even in the wild, you see them on like a Coke can or something, getting like the tiny bits of sugar from it, or like ice cream or like melted ice cream on the floor or something. These girls will surround it. So
Raiding people's picnics.
yeah, they're the ants you see in the cartoons. So yeah, what should this be fed? Protein and sugar. Simple as that. I give mine a cricket every 3 days and with some sugar, and by the third day, they're ready for more. So, are there any foods that should be avoided?
Chicken. Like, I'd say chicken, but not because they don't like chicken or eating chicken will make them sick. Like they love chicken. The issue is they nibble the chicken into chicken powder, and they take all of the chicken powder into the nest. And over time, the chicken powder absorbs some of the humidity from inside of the nest, and it becomes gone off chicken powder, and it's a bit minging when there's like all of this moldy chickeny stuff around your nest. They will eventually clean it out if they do it, but it's minging.
Yeah. How do the dietary needs change as the colony grows? They just want more of it more often.
So more.
Yeah. How aggressive is this species?
Oh. Worst of the worst, innit? Or something. Yeah.
Two different
Yeah.
factors here. Aggressive to humans, not a lot, but the odd bite.
It's like nothing that's painful really. It's like, oh, I'm being bitten.
Yeah, as Jake said earlier, these girls, if they get out, they're on your other ants like no tomorrow. They will find and destroy any other colony they find in their way.
Yeah, and they think every other setup as well is a good place to nest. So they'll be like, oh yeah, let's make a little nest here as well, and they're just savages, and they're persistent too. Like some ants, it's like, oh, another ant. Maybe we'll have a little squabble for 30 seconds, and then we'll both turn around and go our separate ways, and we'll never bump into each other again. Whereas the Lasius Niger, they're just like, they keep pushing and pushing and pushing until like whatever colony they're up against just kind of can't push anymore, and
Yeah,
they're
no,
savages.
these Lanciers, you see them in the wild. Well, I guess even in the wild, they don't seem savage, but yeah, when you see them against your other setups, these girls, they're persistent. They won't stop until they find a way in, and yeah, they take over, and then they move to the next one.
And they like to kill like workers as well. Some species, like, they're not overly interested in like killing other ants. Like Formica fusca and Myrmica rubra and stuff, they're not overly into killing them. Whereas the Lasius niger, they want to kill them. Like they want these other ants to be dead, and it's like they're savages.
It's like they're getting a kick out of it.
Exactly, yeah. And then in the wild, like you'll find a Lasius niger colony, but you won't find like another ant colony for like a few meters of any other species too, because it's like, no, this is our turf and only we are allowed here. Whereas you'll often find like mixed colonies of other ants out and about, like Formica and Myrmica rubra. They get along like a house on fire. Like they share little nests sometimes and things, but yeah, not the Lasius.
How fast moving are they? I don't know, 98 miles per
Fast
hour.
enough to be well hard to catch, but not too fast.
No, yeah, you can catch them. Are they good display ants for observation? Ooh, this is actually an interesting one, actually.
I'd say like maybe, to be fair, they've always got a good feeding response. Like when there's food about, they'll do stuff, and I'd say probably, and then they can take a lot of stuff. Little kids like annoying them all day or something.
Yeah. So in my history with Lasius Niger, and I'm sure this is a lot of other people, but there's obviously all those years ago that they had the ant farms, where you have the two bits of plastic quite close together.
Oh yeah,
with the
Mr.
dirt.
Milton.
Yeah,
Ant farms.
yeah. And so as a display, you saw them build their tunnels and stuff like this. And so in that sense, they are amazing to see like that, for that display. But in the real ant world, they're not really used that much.
But as an educational tool as well, they'd be really good for that. Say you were going around to schools and it's like, here's Lasius Niger. They probably live in your garden. Like, these girls. Want to have a closer look at like what you can't see? Like,
Yeah. So in that sense, they're really good. But are they good display ants altogether? They can be. I'll say that much.
yeah, I'd say no, 6 or 7 out of 10.
Is there any interesting or unique behaviors?
Would you count the pleometrosis, or the founding is a bit of a special behavior, I guess.
Yeah.
But we've gone over that, where they can have multiple queens when founding and then trim them down. Also, they're mold, but we've gone over that.
Yeah. Other than no, not really.
Well, they've got their aphid farming.
I
guess that would count.
Yeah,
Special
a lot of ants
thing
aphid
there.
farm as well, but you see them farm their aphids definitely.
Yeah, especially in England, you can normally catch them on sometimes dandelions. You get goosegrass as well, which is that sticky long stuff, and you'll catch them on there sometimes. But yeah, they are quite interesting when they're farming their aphids, to be honest. I know a lot of trees as well. Like in summer, if you've got an apple tree nearby, if you look at the apple tree, there'll be loads of them going up and down because as the apple leaves produce loads of sugar from the sunlight, it has to travel back into the tree to go back out to the apples, and they're just rinsing it as it's getting moved about. Like they're just drinking that tree dry with the aphids.
So yeah, they again they love sugar. So anything sweet they can get from anything, you'll find them there. What is the biggest challenge when keeping this species?
Keeping them locked up, I'd say.
Keeping them locked up.
Yeah. Although that isn't too hard.
It's not.
Just got to be aware.
Just know that one day they will get out. What is the most common reasons for this colony to fail?
I think at founding stage, I think a lot of people do too much. Even I'm guilty. Like every so often, if I've got some Lasius Niger queens that I've actually remembered, I'll like even if they're founding, I might give them a little bit of food or something. But a lot of the time, it's kind of more harm than good, because the food, it's not just feeding the queen, like, and she has enough food to begin with, which is all securely stored inside of her, and then you're introducing like more food into the tube, but other things will also try to eat it. So you might encourage mites, or you might encourage fungus, and they can be a little bit of an issue sometimes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
And then but then to be fair, I'd say disturbing them as well with these girls. They're not they're not like into eating all of their brood. Some queens, it's like, I've been disturbed, so you know what I'm going to do? Eat all of my eggs. Whereas the Lasius Niger, they're not too bad at that.
These are a tolerant species. They are a very hardy species. They go through a lot, or they can go through a lot.
I guess some of them choose to live, like, or imagine like living on a street where all day there's people just like banging on your roof, and they seem to like do fine. But that is basically the street when they're making a nest under a paving slab. Like all day is just bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, like you find them underneath bricks and stuff around your garden and stuff like that. And then yeah, like especially with rain as well.
Get flooded out, but they seem to tolerate it just fine. Like,
I mean, there's enough of them on the streets. You know, there's enough of these Lasius Niger everywhere. So you know they go through a lot, or they can go through a lot.
does this species require hibernation or diapause?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would just be sluggish, and brood will slow down, unless it's hibernation, when they're like, oh, I'm just going to stop making brood anyway. Yeah, they hibernate, but you can skip it. But don't expect like much growth.
Time they stop anyway. Like they stop on their own account.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're just like, nah, that's enough for me. And you might get like 10 workers extra over winter, but
yeah,
it's not really worth risking it.
If so, how should hibernation be carried out safely? Put them on your windowsill, put them at room temperature, and then during the winter when your room gets cold.
Yeah, they get cold.
Yeah.
I know some people put them in the fridge, but personally, like, it scares me because sometimes you get frost in the fridge. So obviously in the fridge there's spots that like maybe it's maybe just above 0, and it's like,
no.
I'd rather stick them in a garage. And then you always got to remember that if you ever stick them outside to hibernate too, if there's going to be a heavy frost or something, bring them in, because they will die in the cold. Yeah. It's one of my favourite colonies ever that used to sit in the corner of the room and ate spiders. The spiders would turn up thinking it was an easy meal, and the Lasius Niger would just hammer them all the time. And I left them out it was in the porch of my house. It was like enclosed and everything, but when the beast from the east came a few years back, they just like ended up dying in the porch because it just got too cold. And that was it. Like, yep, game over. Love that colony as well. It was so good.
What changes in care throughout the year? Nothing.
No, you could change your feeding a bit. Like when they first come out of hibernation, probably don't feed them loads, but once the ball starts rolling, just feed.
Yeah, I mean, if they want something different, they'll just, like we said earlier, they'll eat any protein or any sugar. But if you want to give them something different and see if they do better with it, then go ahead. Again, science. We're all here for it.
Nice simple ones. So they're the same throughout the year, pretty much.
When should the colony be moved into a larger nest? That's a bit of an obvious question.
How long is a piece of string? I don't know. It's like when the colony is large, I guess. It sounds like really simple and almost patronising. Yeah, when the colony is large, put them in a large nest. Large being, I'd say 1,000 workers at least, or something.
I go from like I go 3 setups. So I put them in obviously they're in a test tube, and then I put them in a 2 test tube nest. So like a Wikushi Luna pod or something. I put them in one of them, and then when they start
Oh yeah,
escaping, when I open the lids, when they start escaping, that's when I'm like, right, they go into a pop F now, an E pop F from Antics. I put them in there, and then I slowly introduce tubes. So obviously there's a 3 tube pop F. I normally give them one that they're in, and then another one with clean water, and then leave the last slot empty until they start filling the 2 tubes, and that's when I put the other one in. And then when they start escaping again, put them into a bigger nest. That's how I would do it.
medium-sized nest or
Yeah. So
something.
if they
Yeah.
escape, they need a bigger nest.
Yeah, it saves you squishing them as well and letting them loose because it always happens too. Like one will escape, and you'll try really hard to get that one ant, and you'll go to put that one ant back in after catching it too, and like 8 will run out the second time, and before you know it, it's like, oh, my ants are trying to get away.
I had such a hard time with my Myrmica. They just kept on escaping. So that's when I knew I need to put them in a pop F. So that's a good sign to know if your colony has outgrown its setup. If they're escaping through lids, like when you take off a lid to, I don't know, feed them or something, and they're escaping, yeah, they need a bit of a bigger setup. Yeah.
If they are really bad too, if you want to, if say you got a medium-sized setup like a pop-off and you're at home and they're escaping, like what you can do sometimes is really quickly open the lid and drop one bit of sugar, like sugar water, in somewhere into the bottom of the nest. And if you're really lucky, they pick up the scent and they go for the sugar water for a few minutes, and you can quickly like get the lid open, get as much done as you can, and hope that they don't turn around and realize that the door's open. But yeah, by that point, that's when you should be thinking, bigger setup, please. Like,
Yeah. So how should expansions be carried out with minimal stress?
yeah, quickly. I have seen some people out there. They'll before they want to expand them, they like fridge them, and
Like calm
like
them
that
down.
scares me a bit. But it does seem really effective, yeah, because they all just basically all slow right down. They don't really run around too much. They just huddle up and are just like, yeah. And then you can quickly like move them. But as soon as they come out of the fridge, they and start warming up, you don't have very long. You've got a couple minutes at most before they're kind of at 10 Celsius or something, and they're like, hey, we're good to go. Like, bam.
Yeah.
It kind of helps, but do expect the setup to be all clouded up to hell as well, though, because all of the cold, it
Condensation.
pulls all the moisture into like all of the places that you don't want it, like on the top or like the acrylic and stuff. But it'll dry. It'll just be quite damp for a little bit.
So yeah, as quickly as possible and less vibrations as possible. How do you deal with the mold outbreak?
Depends, isn't it, which one it is. You got the black mold, which is absolutely fine. You do sometimes though. You get the yellow mold, but it's not like a yellow slimy mold. It's a like yellow furry mold. If you get that, sometimes if it's going around quite badly, it is worth maybe taking some action on a different species. But they had my weaver queens. You know what? They were both doing really well. One of them is now down to like one larvae because just a mold outbreak. I think it's maybe she brought it with her, but it's basically hammered everything
Ah,
except this one egg. So it was the yellow mold though. So what I've had to do is just kind of give them a clean setup again. But unless it's the furry yellow mold and it's attacking the brood, don't really do anything. If there is yellow mold, but the brood are not kind of being hurt by it, I'd leave it personally as well.
yeah, you don't want to stress the ants out. If you think an intervention is needed, like if you need to get that mold, do it with as less stress as possible. Like even if it's in the
Yeah.
tube, but if it's in the
Well,
tube, leave it completely.
yeah,
Don't.
and it's like if it's in a bigger nest as well, you can just dry the nest out as much as you can. And normally, when it's like dry, the ants are like, out it goes. That sort of
Yeah,
thing. and it'll kill it as well. The dry, well,
And
at least put it into a kind of a sleep.
yeah, you can also try and attach a different nest and let the ants move into that, and then move the brood from the moldy tube or whatever to the new nest, or like from the moldy nest
Yeah,
to the nest. So,
maybe attract them with a heat mat under, like up, so they're like, oh, this is warm, and they'll move over nice and easy too.
yeah, so you can, yeah. Same with mites, I suppose. How do you prevent mites?
Just cleaning, I guess, isn't it? It's that don't overfeed them and don't leave them dirty. Although if you do want to leave them dirty, it's not that bad, really, is it? Leaving them dirty sometimes. We all do it sometimes, and a lot of the time you won't get mites because you've left it dirty too. Because if you or not underfeed them, but give them the correct amount of food, they'll eat all of the food, and there won't be any food left for the mites. The issue is when you give like your founding colony that's got 10 workers, like 10 crickets in the space of a week, and they just can't eat that much. So the food is just sitting there waiting for some opportunist little mite to chow down on it and have 8,000 children. Like,
Yeah, so don't feed them more than they need, and after 24 hours, this is the rule from most ant keepers. Personally, like Jay said, we don't all do it, but what is a really good idea is after 24 hours, take the old food out and leave it, and then the next day feed them again. So it's like 24 hours with food, 24 hours without food, and then 24 hours with fresh food, and yeah, so on. I think that's the best of all ants. Well, not all ants, but Lasius especially.
yeah, it always works. Good for them, that. And they don't like, they can hold plenty of kind of sugar and food in their bellies to last that 24 hours, like easy peasy. But it means when they get some more food too, they give a better food like feeding response as well, because they're like, hey, the food's here, and the food isn't always here, so let's go and get it quick. Kind of adds a bit of urgency. I found with some ants that if you give them food all the time, they're like, yeah, it's the food, but we're not excited anymore. We'll eat it, but we're not going to have a party because there's food.
That's
Whereas,
literally what my Lasius. Like I said, I feed my Lasius every 3 days. So every 3 days, I take the old food out and put fresh, like clean it, and then put the fresh food in. And it's got to the point where they're like, "All right, food's there, sweet. We'll be at it later."
yeah, we'll come out at some point, but we're busy at the minute playing on the Xbox.
What should you do if workers start dying unexpectedly? Unexpectedly.
Depends the age, I guess, really, isn't it? When they're
Yeah.
nanitics, they don't last very long. It's like I think 6 months for a nanitic is a really long life.
They're
So
really good.
first, just make sure, like, is it a nanitic or not? Because if it's a nanitic, you can just put it down to they're not going to live very long.
Yeah, just
If
age.
they're dying immediately when they come out, maybe be alarmed because there's probably is something wrong. But if they're lasting only 2 or 3 months, that's okay, because their job is basically just to get that next generation through the conveyor
Yeah.
belt to replace them, and they'll come out bigger and stronger than like the first
Yeah,
worker.
yeah. But it also depends. Like, if this is your founding colony, and yeah, your nitics are just dying randomly, and it's been a good month or two since they've been around, and somewhat normal. If it's over like a year, and your workers are just starting to die randomly, and you're seeing a lot more dead bodies than usual, could be heat. It could be there's not enough heat, or there's too much heat. Something on your food. Be careful
But
with your cricket.
dehydration gets them quite fast.
Yeah, dehydration. I remember Rachel saying in the last talk last week, she said that she had some of her ants die because she was feeding her crickets pesticide riddled food that she didn't know until it was too late.
Change your feeders, maybe, like,
Yeah.
or like sauce. Like, change the sauce if you can, but if you can't change the sauce, maybe change the food. So maybe if you're feeding them crickets and loads of them died all of a sudden, be like, maybe I'll get some silkworms or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
else.
Or see if you've changed anything for them to start dying. It could be anything.
Yeah, that's it. Most of the time, it is like you as well, if you get what I mean. Like, we're the ones that have done something, however small, but it's kind of had a repercussion, and most of the time it's our fault. Like, even if it's I put this, like, I know Paul, Ants Ramblings, he had massive issues with his ants, and it was just because there was an air diffuser kind of in another room, and it was causing havoc for his ants. But that was it, because he'd put an air diffuser in another room, and it kind of wafted over, and they didn't like the smell at all.
Wow. So yeah. A lot of times it's us who kill the ants. So just be mindful of the stuff you change.
And try not to make any rash decisions as well. Like, if you're gonna do something, do it like nice and slow. Because a lot of the time too, people like, and we're all like, I don't know, we all do it. Like, you panic. You see all of your ants, and you're like, oh my god, like something's wrong, and you panic, and the one thing you want to do is make it better. So you think somehow inside of yourself, you're like, I've got to do something, so I'm going to do something. But a lot of the time, you do it like too fast or too like rough, if you get what I mean. And the ants don't really gain anything. They just get stressed out for little to no benefit. Yeah. Whereas, like, if, say, I don't know, tube was mouldy, you'd give them another tube and let them do it in their own time. It's the best method, sort of thing.
How do you recognize and manage stress in the colony?
They don't really get stressed, even when they're running around like nutters. It's not really too bad for them.
Lasias are one of the most like less stressful ants in that because
They,
they are so hardy. They're not really that stressful, are they? They don't really get
no,
stressed too much.
and even if they do, it doesn't matter like too bad. It's a bit like Form Fusca. They run around like mad hatters, and you'd think like, oh my god, like their whole world has been turned upside down. But a couple of minutes later, they're like, I'm back to not caring about anything again. Like,
Yeah, is this species legal to own in your country? Yes.
but yes, I think the only place it would be partially illegal would be like America. Maybe Australia and places have got stricter import stuff, but
Let's say yeah, maybe America, Australia, possibly some countries in Asia and Africa, maybe. I don't really know.
possibly
To
it
be
depends
honest.
how kind of advanced their kind of conservation nature stuff is.
But yes, the species is very legal to own in our country, and that's the UK. Are captive bred colonies available? Yes, but try and catch your own.
Yeah, although they are nice and cheap.
Yeah,
Maybe try and catch your own, and while you're waiting, instead of disturbing your queen that you caught, just buy another colony.
buy a year-old one, yeah. Because even at a
Yeah,
year old, there's only like if 20 workers, if that.
yeah, that'd be like a good colony from the shop. You could, if you were really focusing and you're one person with one colony of ants in 1 year, you could make them a lot bigger than that. But like, you can't do that when you've got hundreds of them, if you get what I mean, like a shop. So yeah, I'd say about 20 workers after a year is common.
What should you look for when buying this species?
I would guess postage and packaging and the price.
There we go. Yeah, literally. Make
Some
sure
shops, it's like, oh yeah, 1p queen. And you're like, oh yeah, 1p queen. And you get the checkout, and it's like, oh yeah, and there's this small case of a £25 postage and packaging. And it's like, no thanks. A really good shop if you want to pick up some Lasius Niger is Aesthetic Ants, because I know he has, I'm not sure if he has any available at the minute, but he does free colonies. So what you can do
he does,
is,
yeah.
say you need tubes and all of that, you can go on Aesthetic Ant, buy like the tubes and stuff, and while you're there, you can ask for a free ant to be sent with them, and you get to choose it, I think, as well. Like, there's a selection of a few of them, whatever he's kind of got that's recently flown, I believe, and it would be quite a good way to start like that, because you're getting a free queen with, you can buy all of the bits that you need with her. But
Yeah, that is pretty sweet. I do like aesthetic ants. There is one shop, or there's probably a couple shops where a queen is like maybe £5. You don't need workers if you're buying Lasius Niger. If it says queen with brood, get queen with brood or fresh queen But if it says it has workers, I mean, if you want workers, obviously pay the extra few quid, but you don't really need them.
No, they'll quickly follow most of the time. Say like, I don't know, 6 to 12 weeks. If you got brood, I'd expect to have your first little nanitics running around by then.
Yeah. Is there any ethical concerns associated with keeping the species?
Well, I bet some vegetarians or someone, there'll be someone out there that'll be like, "This is cruel, keeping ants inside of little test tubes." And I know a lot of people instinctively think that because like it's kind of overlooked by a lot of people, but some normal people that aren't ant keepers, they see our little ants in their like small setups, and in their head they're like, that's really cramped and they should have a big setup because more space is better. But they're not us, like, if you get what I mean. They like the small tight spaces.
Yeah.
Smaller and tighter you can make it, the happier they'll be.
But yeah, there's going to be some people who don't understand the hobby, who will have a really rubbish opinion on it. But until they're educated, there's not a lot you can do. But other
Yeah,
than
they
that,
don't cause too many issues either. Like,
no. Like,
they're not there like ban all of like ants and stuff. They
what is my favorite thing about keeping the species? Just how easy they are. Honestly, they are hardy and easy ants to keep.
My favorite thing about keeping them is, I swear it's just the spiders, to be fair. Like that colony I had that used to mash up spiders. I just thought it was like brilliant. And I wasn't feeding them spiders. Like the setup was just in the corner of the room, and the room had spiders, and the spiders would go in there to try and eat the ants, and the ants would get a free meal. And it was just the irony and everything. And it was like, you guys are great. And I didn't actually have to feed them either. Like they were just ticking over nice. All I'd give them was a bit of sugar water every so often, and protein wise, they got all of that from their spiders.
What's your least favorite thing about Lasius Niger?
Oh, I'm like well stuck on a sword of hibernation, but then at the same time, it's really nice in the middle of winter to sometimes to have like a load of your ants like in hibernation, because it's like, I haven't got my hands that full. Like, you get a bit of a break, but it's tricky hibernation. It's like a love it and hate it thing. I hate that they do it, but while they're doing it, you might as well let them do it because, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my least favorite thing has to be some like. I mean, I've only had one escape from keeping like in colonies, and that one escape caused me to lose my Manica rubida. But like that's my least favorite thing is that they find a way. Sometimes it's through like an air hole. I think with my Lasius Niger, I didn't put the lid on properly when I put them away, and they got out and they found a way into the Manica rubida, and yeah,
That killing instinct, I guess,
yeah,
I'd say it's like a, it's again, it's really hard, isn't it, with these things? You've got like the killing instinct, which makes them ideal for some people because you put in their food and they're like, "Rah!" like smashing down their food. Like even if it's just dead, they're good eaters and they've got voracious appetites. But yeah, at the same time, they'll turn that on its head and be like, oh yeah, we got an appetite for killing other ants as well. But yeah.
Who would enjoy keeping this species the most? I want to say kids and beginners.
Yeah, or anyone that wants to keep ants but doesn't want to get too invested, I guess. Because you could keep Lasius Niger for a tenner forever, if you get what I mean. And I never really have to spend much at all. But I think most people, if they had a little Lasius Niger colony in the corner of their house somewhere, like in a little setup, they'd probably enjoy it. But yeah, I think it's just what level of keeping and how challenging you want it. Like personally, I like a bit of a challenge. Like I like this. It's my only form of gambling. I don't do gambling at all, but except with ants, where I'm like, oh, this queen is actually really hard to found. So the one thing I now seem obsessed with doing is I want to found them. Like,
Yeah, and I guess the final question: if you had to rate the species out of 10, what score would you give it and why?
5. So
No, five's fair. Like Jake just said, they're great for any keeper if you fancy something which is hardy and can take its time to grow. These guys are my favorite guys to keep. episode 1, I explained why, but basically they're just so easy, in my opinion. That they fly in August, I catch like 100, and by February I have maybe 30 colonies going.
I just realised another little perk of them too, but just to cut in. But say you get this like super fancy foreign ant, it might turn up in September because they had nuptials in August. So you get this little snippet where it's like, oh my god, these are available. And what happens is after a few months, she keels over and has an accident. And if you've got like a foreign species, you don't have a clue when the next like import is going to be. So you could be waiting. I've been waiting 3 or 4 years now for some Polyrhacus species, but Lasius Niger, if anything goes wrong, like next year there's a 90% chance that I'll be able to catch another queen, and I'm not gonna have to think about are they gonna be here? Like they'll be here. Like
Yeah, and every shop, every ant shop in the Western world will have these for about 3 months after August.
yeah, at least, and there's always at least one shop with some kicking around like throughout the whole year, which is like a massive bonus. It's not one that you'd initially think of, but it is actually quite a big bonus, especially if your colony keels over after like 6 months, but you're like, oh, actually, no, I really enjoyed this. And I don't want this to end that fast. It'll be like, quick, I can get another colony.
Is there anything else we can add for Lasius Niger? I really think we've gone over it.
Yeah, I think so. We pretty much hit everything. If you're really wanting to spoil them, I guess, like natural setup is definitely the way forward. If you can get the right plants in, like we were saying earlier, like goosegrass and stuff, they'll happily farm inside of a natural setup too. But yeah, they would be a good species if you want to go full blown natural in a big tank with like all of the plants so they can do all of their natural stuff. Be really good for that.
Currently, this is news to Jake as well, but I have an old fish tank in my room, in my house, should I say, not in my room. And I thought today, why not make a vivarium? So today I've been in my garden. I also grow pumpkins. So I've been digging some holes for pumpkins, and I was like getting all these stones and putting the stones to one side and stuff like that. So tomorrow I'm recording a video of like making a vivarium. The tank is only maybe like, it's like a rectangle, 1 foot by 2 foot. You know, it's not the biggest tank, but it's big enough for a solo Lasius Niger colony. So in July/August, when the nuptial flights are, I'm gonna capture like 10 to 20 queens and put them all in the vivarium. So this basically replicates what happens in the wild, where all these queens will fly, land in a similar place, and just dig and make their claustral chambers. So I just want to replicate that. It was either do it that way or just add one of my already established colonies in there. But I think a colony which establishes in a vivarium is much better than just adding one in. So currently it's June, so the vivarium will grow and get ready for these ants. So when the ants come, it will be all ready and the ants won't be disturbing anything.
Yeah. And also, one thing we could add is say you want your colony to stay the size of your setup, you can easily, well, moderately easily, if you can keep them inside, put them on a diet and they'll slow down and stay at whatever stable population you want. If you give them kind of a little bit less food for a little bit, sort of thing, you can control their population.
You run out of wood lice and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's about it. They do get a bit like, yeah, if there's other living things inside of their setup, unless it's hidden away well, they will try to give it a little bit of chow down.
And they're starving.
But then the rest of the time they'll get along with woodlice pretty well. Just unless they're really hungry. But then you don't need a cleanup crew because you haven't been feeding them anything anyway and you haven't made a mess. Like
No, so that's probably the last point I wanted to say. Natural setup or artificial?
I think they both have their benefits, don't they? To be fair, you've got the natural setup, you get to experience the outside of the nest behaviors, and in the synth or artificial setup, you get to experience the inside the nest behaviors. Like,
Yeah, I hope we've covered everything for you guys. Any questions about the species, go ahead and ask away in the comments. And if you have any trouble with your species, your Lasius niger, again, go ahead and put it in the comments. This is our first care guide of many.
I think we've done quite a good job at making it a little bit different to other care guides out there, because I found with one, I don't know, it is the end of the episode, but be careful with advice as well. Like in this episode, I think we've done quite a good job at not giving too much like direct advice. We want you to kind of be able to think it out for yourself, and you find you'll get a lot of what you're told in ant keeping. Most of the time, it's all complete gibberish, but there's like a learning curve in ants. So after, I say, in your first month, you know that you know nothing, but there's this stage at about 1 year of ant keeping. You'll know absolutely everything. You'll tell everyone in absolutes how to do things, but I don't know, eventually, after a year or so, you realize that there's so many factors that are involved in anything that it's all case by case with ants. And hopefully we've given you some of the kind of apparatus, or whatever you want to call it, to make your decisions yourself, and hopefully you can make good decisions.
Yeah, it's all in here in this video. Read up on them. We've gone through basically, I want to say 99% of a care guide for Lasius niger. Test it and let us know. We want to hear how your Lasius niger are doing. We want to hear everything in between and what you've tried that we could try.
All the successes, all of the negatives as well. And you can always learn from the negatives in ant keeping a lot of the time and improve.
If we've missed anything, or is there anything that you want to add into a care guide, again, put it in the comments and we can always revisit this in a year's time.
Final word is, if your Lasius niger queen though does randomly croak, don't be too disheartened. And a lot of the time it might be nothing that you've done. It might have just been what was going to happen anyway. So don't be too down if anything bad happens.
Yeah, not every queen's the same.
Yeah, and they're not all destined for greatness. Like.
Anyway, yes, that's it from me, Billy. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment anything that I've said before, and subscribe.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.